Hello, I'm Alan Powell from the Essex Bridge Center. And today we're going to be discussing situations where you are making your plan as declare, and we want to start incorporating uh, pieces of our plan for what if something goes wrong? What if instead of getting the 3-2 break we're expecting, we get a 4-1? What if instead of getting a 3-1 or a 2-2, we get a 4-0? The more things that you can account for in your plan, the better your plan will serve you. Yes, most of the time it will not matter, but if everything else is going well on the hand and you can afford the little bit of time to plan, this is a place where you can start bettering your scores when things go wrong, right? So today we're going to look at scenarios where you find out more information during the hand. So you start playing a suit and somebody shows out unexpectedly, and we find that we're getting a bad break. And if we've planned ahead, that may not be a problem. And if we haven't planned ahead, we may have ruined our opportunity. All right. So let's get started. Okay. So you're starting to play a hand, right? And when you're making your plan before you play a card, you often make assumptions about how the suits are going to break. You might be thinking about the trump suit. You might be thinking about, a side suit. You might be, you're trying to think about what the most likely split is. But some days they're not going to break the way you want, right? And as your planning skills get better, as you get faster and faster with your plans and you have a little more time, you can start adding contingencies into your plan, right? I mean, the ultimate goal would be to plan for every possible adverse distribution. Now, that's not realistic, but for the things that happen more often, when your 3-2 break turns into a 4-1, right? Or for some reason you get a poor break in a suit. Generally speaking, after you play 1 or 2 rounds of the suit, right? If you play 1 round of the suit and one of your opponents shows out, you know you're getting a bad break. If you play 2 tricks in the suit and one shows out and you were hoping for a 3-2 split, right? Problem is that might be too late for you, right? The cards that you play to those first 2 tricks may determine your success and how do you deal with those bad breaks, right? So when if you expect that things might not go as well and you plan a little bit ahead, that can work for you. All right. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. Sometimes there's just something you can do about it. So when you're making your plan, your goal as declarer is, first of all, make a plan that works for the usual likely splits in the suit. Plan for your 3-2s, right? Plan for your 3-1s, plan for your 4-2s, whatever the most likely split is in the particular suit you're working with. Make sure your plan incorporates that, right? And then if you have time or you have the right cards in the right place, you can make adjustments to your plan so that you won't lose a trick if the suit splits poorly. But you need to make sure that whatever adjustment you make to your plan, it still works for all the usual things in number 1. Number 1 is the most important piece. You need to make sure that your plan works for the 3-2s and all those. And you can add in adjustments so that if you get a 4-1, you're okay, as long as you don't ruin what you were doing for the 3-2, right? Don't make a plan for an unlikely split that doesn't also incorporate the correct usual likely split. If possible, you make the adjustments. It's not always going to be possible to avoid the extra loser, even if you do plan ahead. Depending on where the cards are located or your entries or whatever, it may not be possible, right? So you'll either try to adjust your plan or, if sometimes you get a really bad break, you just go down. Everybody else gets the bad break too, so don't let that worry you. Our objective is to, work with the good breaks, adjust for the bad breaks that we can work on, and not worry about the others. Okay. So let's start with a situation where we have a suit that looks easy to deal with, right? We have 9 cards here. We're missing the jack. We have the ace, the king, the queen, right? So presumably, as long as the suit breaks no worse than 3-1, we can play off the ace, king, queen. If it breaks 2-2, which is slightly less probable, but still adequate for our needs, the ace, king, queen will be plenty, right? The only thing that could go wrong here is, what if somebody has all 4 spades? Can you still win all 5 tricks, right? Can we accommodate the fact that somebody might not have any? Because that would account for 100% of the possibilities. Those are the only 3 possibilities. 3-1 is most likely, 2-2 slightly less likely, 4-0 unlikely, but still possible, right? Can we do it here? Yeah, absolutely we can. First of all, you're going to find out the 4-0 break on the very first play of the suit, right? And as long as you are careful which card you take first, you can still win all 5 tricks in this, right? So you can win all 5 tricks in this scenario. All right. What you have to do is you have to be careful and make sure that the first trick is one with either the ace or the queen. In this example, in this scenario in general, you'll have a situation where you have, honor split between the 2 sides. The hand which has 2 honors is the honor hand which you should cash an honor, because we'd like to have, after the first trick, a high honor in either hand. And that will allow us to finesse whoever has the 4 cards, as long as we have a higher honor than that card in the opposite hand, right? So in this scenario here, where West has 4 to the jack, as long as we cash either the ace or queen, we'll just say the ace, right? We play the ace of spades. East will show out, so we know that all the other 4 are in West. South plays the little one. West plays the 6. And we have the queen and the 9 over the jack. So it's very simple. We just play a spade back to our king, and then we finesse through the queen 9, right? And we get the ace, king, queen, the 9 as part of the finesse, and we don't lose any tricks, right? This is what we call a marked finesse, because we know exactly where all the cards are. The minute East shows out on the ace, we know that West has 4 to the jack. So we know that this finesse will work. We just need to be prepared for it, right? So by cashing the ace first, we still have the queen over there. We can finesse West for the jack. On the other hand, if West shows out and East has 4, this will still work. We play the ace, right? And East plays the 6, South plays the 4, and West shows out. And now we have the king 10 in hand over the jack. So we can even finesse right away. We're in the right hand. We can play the 2 spades from north. East plays low, and we can put in the 10 from south. And we know it will absolutely win. This finesse is what we call a marked finesse, because West showed out. West can't show out one round and then show up with a spade on the next round, right? That would be a revoke, and you would summon your director. If you're playing online, it's not even possible, right? So once West shows out, you know where the rest of them are, and it's a matter of making sure East doesn't take a trick. What I want you to see here is you can't, you can start with either the ace or the queen, the 2 honors that are together. You cannot start with the king here. If South plays the king on the first trick, you still find out there's a problem. It goes king, West shows out, North plays the 2, East plays the 7. But now the jack is behind the ace queen. You have nothing to cover it. You no longer have a finesse position over the jack. So we need to prepare to finesse either hand in case there's a 4-0. You know, most of the time, 90% of the time, what you're going to do here is you're going to play the ace of spades. Everybody's going to have one, and then you're going to play off the king, the queen, yada, 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 and you have all the remaining tricks. But for that very small percentage of the time when they split 4-0, if you play the ace first, you still get to take all the tricks. All right, so we're planning ahead a little bit in the case. And this will work 100% of the time. You can take 5 tricks in this suit 100% of the time if you start with either the ace or the queen. Okay. So that's 9 cards missing the jack. What about 8 cards missing the jack? So Here, our problem will not show up on the first round, right? I mean, 3-2, we expect to happen, I think it's 68% of the time. But 4-1, you're still going to see 28% of the time. That's slightly over a quarter. That's a significant amount of time. So if we can eliminate some of those times where we lose a trick, that's good for us, right? But your problem here won't show up until the second trick, right? If they're 4-1, you play the ace of spades and everybody has one. You play the king of spades, and all of a sudden, somebody shows out, right? So what if somebody has all 4 spades? Can we take all 5 tricks here still? Maybe. It's going to depend on which opponent has the 4 spades, right? Because we have all our honors grouped in the same hand there, right? The ace, the king, the queen. Positionally, we can see that if our West has 4 to the ace, we can pick it up. We can do it. We can play the ace of spades. It goes low, 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 right? We play the king of spades. East shows out. We play low. West plays low. And now we know for sure that West has the remaining 2 spades. Once East shows out, we know that. And this is why it's very important when you are cashing out a suit like this that you watch and make sure the opponents follow suit, because you can fix this. Assuming you can get back to your hand in a different suit, you can then, after playing the ace, the king, you get back to your hand in a different suit. You play a little one towards the dummy. West plays a card. If he plays low, you put in the 10, and you know it will win. If he plays the jack, you play the queen, and your 10's good, right? Just like any finesse. The difference here is we played the ace king, and our finesse is the queen 10 over the jack, but that's still a legitimate choice because we know where the cards are and we know what will work, right? This will not work if the jack fourth is on the other side. You play the ace, you play the king, you'll find out the same problem and you cannot solve it, right? East is sitting behind the queen 10 in position for finesse is all important, right? So after you take the ace king, you have an unavoidable spade loser. The only question then is when you're going to lose it. And that will depend on the rest of your hand and the rest of your strategy. You're going to lose a trick. That's the way it goes. All right. So notice all those spades were in the same hand there, and we had to play the ace and then the king, and then when we wanted to finesse, we had to use another suit to get back to our hand. Sometimes though, if your honors are split, you'll be able to get back to your hand in an easier method, right? You'll be able to use an internal maneuver to get across. So you still have the ace, the king, the queen, the 10, just like you did on the previous hand. Difference is the king is now in the south, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make use of that king of spades as an entry at the right time to eliminate the need for a different suit to get back to our hand, right? We can still win all 5 tricks if West has 4 to the jack, right? We won't be able to do anything if East has 4 to the jack. That's just the way it goes. We can only get half of them, but still half is good, right? So I just want to introduce another terminology. We talked about marked finesse. That's when you know the finesse is going to win because one person is shown out. Picking up a suit. This is another bridge piece of bridge terminology in that picking up a suit means overcoming a bad break and playing the suit without any losers, right? So anybody on this hand can play the ace, king, queen. If they get a 3-2 break, they can take 5 tricks. What about when you get a 4-1 break? Can you pick up some of the 4-1s so that you pick up the suit for no losers? All right. So this one's a little bit different. We're going to use that king of spades at the appropriate time, right? We are actually going to violate the high card from the short side rule. Now, the high card from the short side rule says that you should start with the king here on the very first trick, and then you should play a low spade over to the ace, right? You'll find out you have a bad break. You have the queen 10 over the jack. It's exactly like the scenario we looked at in the previous example. What I'd like you to see is by reversing the order of those first 2 tricks, you can be in the right hand at the right time to pick up the suit, right? Instead of playing the king first on the short side and then the ace on the long side, let's do those two tricks in reverse order. You play the ace of spades and from dummy, and East plays the 9. You play the 3. West plays the 6. And now, as North, you play the 2 of spades. East shows out. You find out about your bad break, right? South wins the king, and West plays a low card, right? And that puts us in this situation. We have the finesse position, right? We have the Jack 8 in West. We have the Queen 10 over it. And more importantly, we are in position. South won the second trick. South is in position to play a third trick, right? So South plays a card, West, plays the 8, you put in the 10, and you know it will win. It is a marked finesse because East showed out of the suit. All right. So we are able to pick up this suit for no losers. If the Jack was in the East hand, well, then we wouldn't be able to. That's just the way it goes, right? If East has Jack 4th, we can't do it. If the suit happens to break 3-2, then the order we play these doesn't matter. We play the ace, we play the king, we play the queen, then the final 2 are winners, right? If everybody follows suit on the second round, the queen will take the third round and we can finish the hand. We did not lose anything by playing the king second. If you waited to play the king to the third round, that would be a problem. You would lose the possibility of finessing West. If you played the ace and then the queen, and then you've hopelessly blocked your suit because you go to the king and you're in the wrong hand for the 10 and the 2. So we're suspending the high card from the short side rule for 1 round. We're taking 1 high honor and dummy, crossing back to our hand, watching to see if everybody follows suit. And if we get a 4-1 break, we take a marked finesse. All right. So it's just a little bit of planning. So, once you start to understand this particular combination, you can start to put it into place in a lot of different places, right? All right, I need to play the honors in this sequence in case something goes poorly, right? So you've now not only gotten all of your 3-2s together, but you've gotten half of your 4-1s when West has 4, all right? Now, next one is going to be a little bit more difficult because we're missing the Jack and the 10. We don't have a natural finesse here, right? Because we are missing the Jack and the 10. But depending on how the cards fall, this will work similar in some circumstances. So if the suit breaks 3-2, you don't have any problems. You play off the ace, king, queen, right? And as long as you don't play the king on the third round, that's wrong. You're okay, right? 4-1 breaks. Well, you might be able to pick up the suit when there's a 4-1 break, depending on which card out there is singleton, right? If we can dispose of either the Jack or the 10 on the first trick, then this will look similar to the previous example. If one of those honors gets swallowed up by our king, right? So, for instance, here we have the ace, queen, 9, and dummy 5 times. We have the king in our hand. And you can see I've given you a 4-1 split, but that East has the singleton Jack. And West has 10. And West has this Jack 4th, right? And you could reverse that. You could have East have the singleton Jack and West the 10 4th. That's okay too, right? As long as one of the honors gets squashed under the first trick here, right? So on the first round of the suit, we should play this one exactly the same way as we did the previous example where we had the 10, where we were, planning for it, so that we find out on the second trick what's going on. You play the ace of spades and East plays the 10. South plays the 4 or the 3, and West plays the 6. And now when West plays North plays the 2, East shows out. South wins the king and West plays low. And we know at that point that since we saw the 10 fall on the first trick, that West has 2 more cards, one of which is the Jack. And we have a finesse position over him with the queen and the 9, right? So it looks like this. You have the queen, the 9, the 2, and dummy. You have the jack 8 in West. You have the 4 in your hand. The 10 was disposed of on the first trick. So the queen and the 9 are now a finesse position against West, right? So we lead from South. The 4, West plays the 8. You put in the 9. Then you can win the queen. Then you can win the 2. And you end up with no losers in the suit. So by playing the ace first and then crossing back to the king, first of all, we found out that one of the honors dropped. And second, we found the 4-1 break in a position where we could then finesse West's jack, right? So that one is a step up in difficulty from the other because we need two things to go our way. First of all, we need West to have 4, and we need East to have a singleton honor, right? But if you have time and you're planning on running the suit anyway, there's no harm in planning for, something that will gain you some of the time, right? So that was missing the jack 10 when we have 8 cards, right? And what scenarios can we pick up a 4-1 break, right? We want to be able to pick up the suit as many times as we can. If West had both the jack and the 10, nothing we could do about it. When we played the ace and the king, West would have 2 cards remaining, which would be the jack 10, which are equals against the queen, and we can't do anything about it, right? We need that honor to fall singleton. And by playing the ace first and then the king in our hand, we are in position to take the finesse. All right. Missing the jack 10 when you have 9 cards in the suit. So here we have ace, queen, 9 in dummy 6 times. We have king 3 times in our hand. So if the suit splits 3-1, we're good. If the suit splits 2-2, we're good. 4-0. Can we pick up the suit here if it is 4-0? Well, it may not be obvious, but if West has all 4 spades, yes, you can pick up the suit because West has to play before North. And think of it this way. If you can get North's ace to take West's jack and North's queen to take West's 10, then the 9 will be the remaining high card, right? Your king, you'll be able to take king, queen, ace, and the 9 will be the 4th winner, and West will never take a trick. So it's not as easy to see this one, right? But what you can see from that idea is that North needs to retain both the ace and the queen over the jack and 10 if you get a bad break. So therefore, on this one, the first trick has to come from the king. So your first trick, you're going to cash the king of spades. So slightly different than the other examples because we have more cards. We have more possibilities. We need to adjust our plan, right? So each of these little cases, each of these little combinations are something that you need to do 2 things. You need some study, which we're doing now, and you need some experience. You need to get out there and plan for these things and see them work, right? Or do them wrong and then go back afterwards, look at the hand and say, oh, I could have avoided a loser there, right? How can I adjust my strategy so that I can avoid losing that trick while still accounting for all the easy 3-1 or 2-2 breaks? You don't want to lose anything, even if you're trying to gain something with the 4 zeros. So at this point, after I cash the king and it goes low, low, and East shows out. East shows out. I now know West has all the remaining cards. It's not a secret, right? The fact that West has all the remaining spades means he's marked with the jack and the 10. So I have a marked double finesse against West. I'm going to force West to not take a trick with his jack 10 by leading through him twice. So I'll lead the 6 of spades from my hand, and I'll see what West plays. If West plays low, if he plays the 3, I put in the 9, and I know it will win because East did not have a card the last round. The 9 wins, the ace wins, the queens wins, and that's my best case scenario. I don't have to worry about it. It's good, right? If If I play the 6 and West plays an honor, as he should, he plays the 10, forces you to take the ace, right? So now at that point, we have a finesse position against the jack, right? So it's gone low 10 ace. We still have the queen 9 and dummy. We still have the jack 3 and West. We do need to get the lead back into South's hand in a different suit, right? So you'll need an entry to South's hand in a different suit. You get there and you lead the 7, right? And now we're taking just a regular, straightforward marked finesse. We know the cards that are remaining in West's hand because, we know where all 13 cards in the spade suit are. The minute he shows out, we know where all 13 cards are. And then it's playing to our best advantage. So we play the 7, West plays the 3, we put in the 9, we take the queen, and we do not lose a trick in the suit, right? Seems like a lot of work to avoid this particular loser, and it is. But bridge is a game of pattern recognition. You want to be able to recognize the different patterns and pieces as you go through, and that's what takes the experience. Right? You're not going to get that from necessarily studying in a book. Studying in the book and understanding how the position works, yes. Putting it into practice, though, is what cements it in your head. And once you've got it in your head, then you can apply it to each hand as you go along. You can say, okay, if this suit breaks for me, perfect. If it doesn't break for me, I should start with this card first, just in case. All right. So it's not always, the easiest thing to plan for. And, the gains on some hands are small, but every little bit, every little percentage you add to your probability of taking more tricks adds some more tricks to your final results and adds to your score. Over tricks are important. All right. Under tricks are important for that matter. Making your contract as opposed to not making your contract makes a difference, right? All right, so that was 9 cards missing the jack and the 10. I'd like to say a little bit about the queen with 10 cards in the suit. Now, we definitely decided when we had 10 cards in the suit, after studying 8 over 9 never last week, that we are never going to finesse for the queen. Not 100% accurate. We're never going to finesse for the queen unless we are taking a marked finesse for the queen. Because if they break 2-1, that's perfect. We play the ace, we play the king, and there's no problems. But you will get 3-0 breaks. And if you can still take a finesse after finding out that you get a 3-0 break, right, then you can avoid the loser in that suit. So the 3-0 break, if you can make a contingency for the 3-0 break, then you should do so. So looking at this particular example, we have 5 to the king, we have 5 to the ace jack. We are missing specifically the queen, the 10, and the 2, right? We can figure out exactly which cards we're missing. We got 10 of them. There's only 3 out there, right? So the other thing I want you to see there is this is a one-way finesse position. You can only finesse for the queen one direction, right? And you can only finesse west for the queen because of where the jack is, right? When we were studying finessing for the queen last week with the 8 over 9 never, unless the jack has the 10 for backup, you can only finesse towards the jack. We can only finesse towards the ace jack. Mind you, I don't want to finesse on this hand at all. But I do have a choice as to whether I start with the king or whether I start with the ace, right? So which one I start with may limit my possibilities on the next round. So if I start with the king here and West plays the 2, North plays low, and East shows out, now I have a marked finesse against West's queen 10. I lead low towards dummy, and whatever he does, I cover it. And then I have, I do not lose a trick in the suit. So it does not preclude me when they're 2-1 from just winning the first 2 tricks. I play the king, and if everybody follows suit, I play the ace, and then I don't worry about it. But I just allowed myself the possibility with playing the king of picking up anytime West has 3 to the queen. This is a one-way finesse only, though. I want you to see that if East happens to have 3 to the queen, you can't pick it up, right? If you start with the ace here, that Jack and the Queen 10 are not positioned well, right? You can't, if you leave the Jack, East immediately puts the queen on it, you win the king, and the 10 is a winner, and you don't have it. If North plays low, East puts in the 10, forces out your king, and the queen is a winner. This is not a finesse position, right? Only if West has 3 to the queen is there a finesse position. So I would never start this particular combination with the ace of spades. I would always start it with the king of spades because I can only pick up a 3-0 split in the West hand, right? So it's a one-way finesse. I don't need to worry about taking it more than one way. So I'll cash the other honor, and then I will, finesse only if it's marked, right? So I'm just adding to my little piece there, right? Sometimes, though, you will also have the 10, in which case you have a two-way finesse, right? So again, a two-way finesse I'm never going to take unless somebody shows out on the first round. And when I have 2 ways to finesse, I'm going to have to guess which one to start with. If I wanted to finesse West, I would start with the king, right? And then I can finesse West. If I want to finesse East, I'd start with the ace, and then I can finesse East. How do I figure out which one? Well, we did a lot of that thinking last week, right? If one hand has shown a long suit, they're less likely to have 3 to the queen in their hand. If one hand has shown 2 long suits, they are less likely to have 3 of the queen in their hand. If one hand has bid and shown strength, they are more likely to have the queen in their hand, right? So less likely, more likely, you use what information you have in the bidding. If you've gotten no information from the bidding, then it is strictly going to be a guess on your part, unless you've gotten information from the play so far, okay? So in this situation, if I think that the queen is going to be in the West hand, or that, if there's going to be a 3-0 break, I think West will have the 3, then I'll start with the king. And when East shows out, I will take a marked finesse against West's queen, right? And if I think East has the queen or has the length, right? If I think East is the only one likely to have 3 cards in the suit, then I'll start with the ace from the dummy, right? And then I will finesse, take the mark finesse when West shows out. So, absent any other information, if I don't know which hand is more likely, then I'll just have to guess, right? But if I get information, I'll use that information to make a choice. It won't always work, right? Sometimes you'll think, okay, well, they showed a long suit, they won't have queen third, and they'll have queen third. It happens, right? But we're working with increasing our odds and our choices. On the first example, it didn't matter. We could only pick up 3-0 in one hand. So we absolutely know which card we were going to play first. But when you can do it both ways, then you can make an educated decision as to which way to go. All right. All right. So those are, planning for our bad breaks and everything else. I do want to spend a little time on the concept of restricted choice. All right. So this is slightly different in that in all the previous examples, we discovered a bad break when we were playing the honors, and we knew exactly who has what, right? We had 100% of the information we needed. It was just a matter of executing based on what cards we were going to know where they were. So we're going to look at with restricted choice is a place where we gain some information, where somebody plays a card that tells us, some information about the hand, but we're not going to know everything. Nobody's going to show out. We're not going to know where the remaining cards are. There's going to be one card out there that we haven't placed yet, and we have to make a decision. All right. So the situation we're going to be looking at is a situation where we have 9 cards in the suit. We are missing the queen and the jack. So this is not an 8 ever, 9 never, right? Because we cannot finesse for the queen. So since we can't finesse for the queen, We have a couple of different strategies that we can use here, right? Since we have 9 cards, we can't finesse. We're basically just going to play off the king. We're going to play off the ace. And if we get a 2-2 break, fine, we won't have a loser. If we get a 3-1 break, we might have a loser, right? So our best strategy, absent any other information, is we're just going to play off the ace and the king. So if we play the king and it goes low, 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 we're going to play the ace and hope the queen and the jack fall, and like that, right? If they don't fall, we'll have to lose a trick. But what if instead, when we play the king on the first trick, East plays the jack? So it goes king, low, low, jack. Or what if we play the king on the first trick and it goes low, low, queen? How does that affect our strategy that East played an honor? There's only one more remaining honor out there, right? So one of two situations has happened here. Either East has been dealt the singleton jack or singleton queen, or East might have both the queen and the jack and be forced to play one, right? He's got his pick. He can make a choice as to which one he plays. If he's just got a singleton, he doesn't have a choice. He's got to play that card, right? If he has both the queen and the jack, though, he does have a choice, right? He could play the jack. He could play the queen. And, you know, depending on which one he wants to do there, he might be trying to trick you, right? You know, you might be thinking, well, if I play the jack, he'll assume I might have the queen. So I'll play the queen so he doesn't assume I have the jack. And South might look at you and say, well, he played the queen. He's trying to trick me. I think he's got the jack too. You know, so it turns into spy versus spy and everything like that. But East has a choice to try to disguise what he's doing, to try and confuse South as to whether he has just the singleton or just the honor. Because if he has both, right? If he has the king, the queen, and the jack, then the Claire should play for the drop. Your Claire here should play the king, right? Low, low, jack, and then low to the ace, and the queen will fall, right? So if East has the queen, jack, the correct play would be to play for the drop, right? So, you know, East does have a choice here as to which card to play. So if it goes king, low, low, jack, right? You can, you know, decide whether he has the queen or not to go with it. You could also go king, low, low, queen. You have to decide whether he has the jack or not to go with it. If he's dealt the singleton, right? So let's say it goes king, low, low, jack. And West has 3 to the queen. Then the correct play would be to finesse, right? If it goes king, low, low, jack, and West has both the queen and the 9, then we would play low from the south hand. West would play a card, and North would play the 10, right? And then the ace would capture the queen, and we would be able to pick up the suit. The problem is, as declare, we don't know which one is the case, right? We don't know which one is actually happening. So we're going to try and make our choice based on the probability of whether East has 2 honors, jack, queen, or whether East has only the 1 honor, right? Okay. So if East only has 1 honor, only has the jack, he has to play that card. He has no choice, right? Choice is going to make a difference here in whether we think one is more likely than the other. Okay. If you have a single down honor, that's the only one you can play. If you have queen, jack, you could choose either one, right? So which one is more likely? Now, having studied 8 Ever, 9 Never last week, you might expect that queen, jack, doubleton is slightly more likely than East having the singleton. And you're correct in some senses, right? In one sense, in that queen, jack, doubleton is more likely to occur than the singleton of jack. Yeah, right. So Queen Jack Doubleton is more likely to occur than the singleton Jack. But it's the element of choice that makes the difference here, right? If we assume that East is equally likely to choose between the Queen or the Jack when holding both, then the probability that he has the Queen and the Jack when he plays the Jack is cut in half. So it is no longer as likely that he has Queen Jack Doubleton when he plays the Jack, right? And this is hard for people to wrap their heads around. But you had a choice of playing the Queen Jack. You do not have a choice when you play the singleton Jack. So if East had both the Queen and the Jack, and he chooses randomly between the two, then half the times he'll play the Jack and half the times he'll play the Queen. So when he plays the Jack, it's only 50% of the time that he would have Queen Jack Doubleton. All right, that's not exactly the way to say it. Of the possibility, the probability that he would have the Queen Jack, he's only going to play the Jack half the time, right? So the probability here is cut in half, but the likelihood that he has the singleton Jack remains unchanged, right? Because he had no choice. He has a choice with the Queen Jack. He does not have a choice when he has the singleton Jack, right? So that tips the scales the other direction. It would have been a close decision whether to play for the drop or finesse, and the drop would win out if we were doing 8 ever, 9 never. But because he played the Jack, because he played the equal of two cards, one of two equal cards, right, where either card would suffice, that probably gets cut in half, and therefore it's actually comes down solidly on the side of the finesse here, right? Almost 2-1 to finesse as opposed to play for the drop. So where does that leave us? In this scenario where we have 9 cards missing the Queen Jack, when East plays an under declares king, whether East plays the Queen or whether East plays the Jack, doesn't matter. Declare should finesse West for the other honor, right? That's the way restricted choice works in this scenario. Because West has a choice of the Queen Jack, he's likely to choose either one. When he doesn't have a choice for the Jack, he must choose that one, and therefore that is a greater possibility. So all I want you to remember, I don't want you to remember this piece back here and the logic or anything like that. All I want you to remember is when you have 9 cards and you're missing the Queen Jack and you play an honor and your opponent drops an honor under it, finesse the other person. That's all you need to remember for restricted choice, but this is why, right? So again, just like last week, you don't have to remember the math. You don't have to remember the logic. You don't have to worry about any of that. This is all you have to remember is when you have 9 cards missing the Queen Jack and one of your opponents plays an honor under your ace or king, then finesse the other person for the other honor. That's all you have to remember. Okay. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in class.